video, we're going to learn how to make this little sample sock, which is also a perfectly good newborn baby sock. I think it's really handy to learn just the anatomy of sock making on a tiny sock. That way, if you want to go back and rip out a section and redo it, it's really quick and easy to do so you can perfect your technique. Your tools and supplies you'll need some yarn, just regular worsted weight yarn, circular needles. I like 40-inch for magic loop on socks, scissors, a small safety pin, a ruler, and if you'd like to put in an optional lifeline, then a piece of thin thread on a needle. Before we get started, let's talk about the makeup of a sock. So we're going to start with we're going to start with a Turkish cast on, which I like better than Judy's magic cast on. A lot of people use that one, but I find this to be more foolproof and it gives you a really nice rounded toe. Sometimes on Judy's I end up with kind of a little poking out sharp corner on there, but I really like how this is just perfectly rounded. And you can see it just starts from nothing. It's very smooth and invisible and easy to do. That's the cast on, and then you do some increases to create the toe section. After that, this is the foot, and on an actual sock, you can try it on. The beauty of knitting toe-up socks is you can try it on to make it the length that you want. This part is the instep that goes on top of your foot, like up towards your leg. And this part, this kind of triangle area, is called a gusset. And then this corner is where you turn the heel and then you do the heel flap back here. Around the ankle is just a regular knit section in the round. And then you finish by one for the cuff. There you go. That'll be your finished sock. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to do the Turkish cast on, which is my favorite for knitting socks. As I mentioned, I think it's the most foolproof. You begin by just tying a slip knot, and you put your two needles together and hold them with the tips toward the left, and put your slip knot on the top needle. Now we're going to wrap it around. In this case, we're going to wrap it around 4 times. So a wrap, to count, is when it comes from the bottom, goes up and around, and back to the bottom. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Then you're going to wrap your yarn around your hand as if to knit, turn it over, and scooch the stitches to their little wraps up to the tip, and then you're going to pull out the bottom needle, and we're going to knit across the stitches on the top needle. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. If you're not using this pattern, but instead are just using any sock pattern and it tells you to, let's say, cast on 8 stitches, to use the Turkish cast on, you need to divide those stitches in half, and that's how many wraps you do. Okay, so now that we've turned it around, our next stitch actually is that slip knot, and we don't need that anymore. It was just helping hold our place. So we're going to take it off, but be careful not to kind of undo your stitches at the back. Pull out the bottom needle, and again, we're going to knit across the top needle. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, pull this through. And we will again pull out the bottom needle, knit across the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, and one final time, the same. My little tail's always in my way. Pull out the bottom needle. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stop and make sure you can see that. here we are, and we are set up to do our stitches. So one thing to note here, we are going to think about folding this in half with the purl side. This is the purl side, fold it up to the end into the middle, and this is the outside with the knit side. And this is the beginning of our row, which we're now going to mark with a safety pin. It doesn't really matter where, because really the beginning of the row is between the two needles, so we'll always be able to remember that. But we just want to make sure it's on this side as opposed to this side to mark this is the beginning of our row. Okay? And now from here to knit with magic loop, your yarn is coming, this is the last stitch we've worked, this is my working yarn, is off the back, and that's the needle we're going to think about pulling forward. So we pull out that back needle from now on, and we knit into the stitches on this front needle. Okay? So on our pattern now, we are ready for our increases, and we're going to knit one, and then we are going to make one right. And there are more detailed videos on all of these steps on the Cushion of Joy site. Remember, to make one right is where you pick up the bar from behind, and then you knit into the front of the stitch. Whoops, there we go. And now you're going to knit until there is one stitch left on your needle. Okay. And now you're going to make one left. Remember, when you make one left, you knit into the back side, the back loop. And then knit the last one. Pull out our needle. Turn our work. Okay, so we pull out the back, we're repeating, still on round one. We've got to do the other side, knit one, and then we're going to make one right, and then knit until there's one stitch left on the row. And then you're going to make one left. Pick it up through the front, knit through the back loop. Knit your last stitch. Okay. So you can start to see we're getting a little bit of a rounded shape starting to come together. Our next round, we are just going to knit. That little guy, little tail is bound and determined to be in my way. So pull out the back needle, and we are just going to knit across. I'm also going to make sure my little safety pin is out of my way. And on the other side. For this next round, we're going to repeat round one, just the same. So we're going to knit one, we're going to make one right, knit until there's one left, then make one left, knit the last stitch, and repeat on the other needle. Make one right. Knit until there's one left. Make one left. All right, so that is our little completed toe. Very cute. And now we are going to simply knit in the round until it is 2 inches measured from here to the end of your knitting. Now I have 2 inches finished. I have my beautiful, nice rounded toe. And I have stopped with my safety pin in between, the safety pin on the same side as the 2 needle tips. So that way I know I'm at the end of the round. Now we are ready to go on to the gusset. And there's going to be a difference between needle 1, which is the one we're ready to get to, and needle 2. Needle 1, we're going to do increases on, and that's going to start to become our heel. And then needle 2, we're going to just keep the same size. That's the instep on, more like the top of the foot. So we pull out the back needle. We're going to knit 1. It's the same increasing we were doing earlier with the toe. So we're going to make 1 right. Knit across until there's 1 left. And then make 1 left. And now as we turn to go back on the other needle, we are just going to knit. So we're not doing any increases on this second needle. And now we just knit around. And you're going to repeat those 2 rounds 3 more times. So basically you're adding 2 increases each time you do an increase, and then you'll do a round of just knit. And our goal is to have the heel needle with 16 stitches. So we started with 8, we just added 2, now we're at 10. So you'll need to do it 3 more times to get to 16.